Former Trump transition official calls for impeachment.
Wow.
This is serious stuff. There's more than enough evidence in the Mueller report to start, said J.W. Verrett, a George Mason University law professor. J.M. Verrett, a George Mason University law professor who served on President Donald Trump's transition team, is calling on Congress to initiate impeachment proceedings in the wake of special counsel Robert Mueller's report.
You know why conservatives always fucking win, dude? Because these Democratic operations, I mean, they must be intentionally just retarded, because here's why. If they go forward with this and they don't actually impeach Trump, then they just give him even more ammunition. Look, they tried to get rid of me. They tried to impeach me and they couldn't do it. I win again. I win. And that's the victory you give Trump. Unless you have something that's just going to dramatically change the feel, like a Watergate fucking moment where it just fucking totally transforms the political landscape, or makes everyone want Trump out of.
I think talking about impeachment before any of these multiple investigations, including ones out of Congress, but like there's a bunch of committees that have subpoenaed the president and we're waiting to receive documents and shit.
And he's fighting that too.
And they're already doing, like, impeachment might indeed be what needs to happen.
Sure.
But I think, like, trying to start it now in an obvious rush to beat him to the possibility of running again in the next cycle, it's just stupid.
Mueller wasn't going to end Trump. Impeachment hearings can, if Democrats have the stones to do it.
Yeah, maybe they can impeach him in the House, but whatever this piece
If
says...
Attorney General Bill Barr... I'm just going to read the first paragraph of all these. I have a bunch of them.
Go ahead.
If Attorney General Bill Barr had led his press conference last Thursday morning by saying the Mueller report reveals that, among other things, on multiple occasions, President Donald Trump ordered Corey Lewandowski and Don McGahn to obstruct justice, the House of Representatives will be planning Trump's impeachment hearings, with probably even some Republicans in the House and Senate putting out statements in support of the hearings.
I hate when articles and opinion pieces begin with these total fantasy things. Like, if reality had been different, this would have happened. Like, of course.
Like, people, like, I think a lot of people fundamentally misunderstand impeachment, too. Bill Clinton was impeached.
Yes.
Right? So
this wasn't removed.
By
the
House.
start of impeachment and actually having impeachment pass is just the beginning of a long trial process. So it's like the idea that impeachment is the end-all, be-all here is just wrong. It's the actual fucking implications of the trial that would follow. And if the House is able to successfully impeach Donald Trump, then there's an impetus for a special counsel to be named and a whole new investigation.
We have to be impeached by both the Senate and the House.
That was from...
and that's what... Yeah, so
that was from the Daily Beast.
Well, Bill Clinton
the first one was from Huffington Post.
Well, people say Bill Clinton was impeached. He was impeached by the House. He wasn't impeached by the Senate.
This is the Chicago Sun-Times. Prepare the public for impeachment and get on with it. No one can trust the outcome of the next presidential election. Now is the time for impeachment. Many Democratic Party leaders continue to say they would prefer to wait for the next election to let voters oust Donald Trump in 2020. Why would anyone believe that Trump would allow himself to be fired by American voters? What evidence is there over the past 3 years of the course of his professional career that suggests he would play by the rules? So they're basically saying, like,
Trump coup.
Fuck that. Trump's just going to do a coup, so we might as well impeach his ass now.
Well, by that same logic, wouldn't impeaching him just say, like, for the national security, I remain president, and I've arrested the Democratic Party. Like,
so once again, just to reiterate, so Huffington Post, impeach; Daily Beast, impeach; Chicago Sun-Times, impeach; out of
but
memory,
they haven't made
impeach.
they've made that argument that he won't leave by the ballot box. So if they
Miami
impeach him,
Herald.
if they impeach him, what suggests he's actually going to leave office then under that auspices? Or that belief system.
So I am done being wishy-washy. Impeach him. Now! Now!
So the impeachment proceeding starts in the fucking House.
Yep.
And then it's tried in the Senate.
Correct.
Right.
So that's what happened. That's.
I'll admit that I've been wishy-washy
end.
about this. In May of
Yeah, 'cause
2017,
they're not gonna
shortly
have votes in the
after
Senate.
Donald Trump fired FBI Director James Comey and spilled top-secret information to the Russians, I took to this space to chide his party for its silence and in his monstrosity of a presidency and demand action. Impeach him now, I wrote. By January of this year, my ardor for that remedy had cooled somewhat. I wrote that while Trump surely deserves impeachment, the politics of the moment would make that futile, as Senate Republicans are unlikely to vote for his removal. Besides, I noted, the process would fracture an already fractured union while failing to address the core sickness that made Trump's presidency possible. I still believe all that, but I am here to change my mind yet again. Blame the Mueller report. It has made me clarity.
It has given me clarity.
It's made me clarity.
Made me clarity.
It's given me clarity.
Help me appreciate something I didn't appreciate fully enough before, namely that in allowing all of this to be framed solely around the question of what is politic and pragmatic, we miss something. There is a moral imperative here, a stark question of right and wrong. These people keep doing things the government officials are simply not supposed to do.
I mean, if you're going under that auspices, then in my opinion, you should look at the Democratic Party and almost every politician in office.
And that's why this idea, right as it is, has no traction anywhere. Because it means upending the entire fucking apple cart of American governance and replacing it with something that I don't even know what it is. I don't know how you properly protect with language the people from having lobbyists buy their representatives.
This is from one called The Bulwark, which I never heard of. Weld, it's time for Trump to resign.
Is it?
He's saying, we don't impeach him. You just need to resign.
If
Donald Trump is an American patriot, he should resign from office. In the 2016 campaign, Senator Ted Cruz described Trump as a pathological liar. The Mueller report carefully documents the truth of Senator Cruz's description. The relationship between a democratic government and its citizens is based on mutual trust and respect. How can a president function if he instinctively lies to not only the public but to his own staff? There is one essential truth that leaps from the pages of the Mueller report. No one can trust Donald Trump.
Except Ivanka.
So he's just saying, resign, Trump, resign.
Also not going to happen unless he's just under such pressure that it makes sense.
Nancy Pelosi, I guess, she hasn't really been on the impeachment bandwagon, but I guess she said that the Democrats may have no choice but to impeach Trump, at least according to Breitbart. So you can take that with a grain of salt. Here's her comment. I do believe impeachment is one of the most divisive paths we could go down in our country. But if the path of fact-finding takes us there, we have no choice, but we are not there yet.
I kind of agree with the mummy of Nancy Pelosi here. I got to be honest.
Yeah?
Like, I think that at the end of a lot of these concurrent investigations that are going on, if at that point everybody looks at the body of evidence and thinks there's enough to start impeachment proceedings, and that's a good time to do it. I don't think now, on the heels of a report that didn't make any of the conclusions that people thought it was going to make, but left them open, is not the time to start going, impeach. It's the time to dig, time to find.
Dig it, find it. Here's Trump's response to all this. Trump says he would head to the Supreme Court to block impeachment.
So he's just going to, like, walk in there?
Yeah. He's going to be like, excuse me, one dismissal of impeachment proceedings, please.
Coming right up, sir.
Donald Trump has said he would head to the U.S. Supreme Court if Democrats in Congress launched impeachment proceedings against him.
Trump ain't gonna take no shit.
Just minutes after he was condemned by the UK government's spy agency for promoting a conspiracy theory that it had helped the Obama administration covertly surveil his election campaign, the president launched the latest in a series of angry tweets about the Mueller report. He wrote, "The Mueller report, despite being written by angry Democrats and Trump haters and with unlimited money behind it, $35 million, didn't lay a glove on me. I did nothing wrong. If the partisan Dems ever try to impeach, I would first head to the U.S. Supreme Court."
You know what, guys? I changed my opinion.
Yeah.
That his all caps, I did nothing wrong there. If that was properly presented, with, in lowercase and uppercase as was proper, it would have been one thing. But the all caps, man.
I did nothing wrong.
All caps, period. I got to go with it. Nobody does all caps when they don't mean it.
Someone who really did something wrong
yeah.
would not be brazen enough to type that in all caps like
Absolutely not.
In a second tweet, Mr. Trump added, "There are no high crimes and misdemeanors. There are no crimes at all by me. We waited for Mueller and won. So now the Dems look to Congress as last hope." Mr. Trump likely sees the Supreme Court as a more favorable territory for him, given he has nominated two conservative judges during his term in the White House that have been confirmed onto the court. First, there was Neil Gorsuch, and then there was Brett Kavanaugh.
Yeah.
That helped create a right-wing majority on the court. However, while Mr. Trump has shown some knowledge of impeachment procedure, it is debatable that the Supreme Court could step in on what would be a congressional matter. First, so basically the rest of the article goes on to explain why Trump can't just head to the Supreme Court.
He's going to.
I wouldn't let him. If he tries, I'll be there to stop him.
Supreme Court, I'm here to tell on the congressional Democrats. They're trying to impeach me. Stop them. It doesn't work that way. That's not what the Supreme Court does. It's not even.
I will body block Donald Trump.
Maybe somewhere along the line you could go to the Supreme Court, but you certainly couldn't just head right to him and be like,
dude,
"Yo, Supreme Court, fix this for me."
Trump is gonna fucking declare himself God Emperor, and the Supreme Court's gonna find it to be valid, dude.
He's gonna drink the bile of the sandworm and become the fucking eternal Emperor Duke Leto II, dude.
Awesome. I might become a Trump supporter at that point.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool if he turns
God,
into a worm.
Emperor
Turns
Trump.
into a giant worm with Trump's face that has all the wisdom of the cosmos.
It'd be pretty
I'll
dope.
go with it.
You kind of have to defer to Trump at that point.
Yeah, you know. I mean,
Kind of have to defer to Trump now, unfortunately.
he's kind of the president.
Yeah.
But I don't know. There are a lot of. I just noticed a huge uptick in this recent cycle of news of these impeachment stories just being everywhere.
Yeah.
So obviously, the news media, I think it's pretty clear where they're at this point. They're just like, we're tired. It seems like they're really pushing this impeachment stuff into the mainstream. It's weird because usually the media and the mainstream Democrats are kind of in lockstep, but it seems like the mainstream Democrats are kind of shy about impeachment proceedings at this time, and the media is ravenous for them.
Well, because you can see why. Because the media is now creating news, so.
Right? And they want the latest. They want to cover the impeachment proceedings.
Right.
They want to come on
They
every
need
day
that.
and tell you the latest updates on the impeachment.
They're hungry for those Mueller dollars, man. They
Yeah.
were covering that
Now, is
Mueller
Bernie Sanders taking
speculation
a
about
position
that
on
Mueller
this, TJ?
shit.
You're a Bernie supporter.
He is against impeachment.
Okay, because Kamala Harris and Elizabeth Warren have now both come out in
They're
favor.
both in favor.
So they're obviously their campaigns
So
are kind of lagging, so they kind of want that. Oh, we're going to go a step further.
By the way, you guys have seen like the big blocks of stuff that was redacted out of the Mueller report.
Oh yeah, they're huge.
Doesn't all that pretty much concern other ongoing investigations into the Trump
Well,
administration?
that's what they say, but one of the Tizamites was one of Mueller's assistants, and he mailed me.
The real pages.
Whoa.
Well,
Wow.
not all of them, but one of the paragraphs.
Oh, wow.
Cool, dude.
And I can read it to you guys. if
Yeah,
you
man,
want.
ahead,
for
yeah.
sure.
In summation, the PP tape is real. Donald Trump is a Russian agent and should be impeached immediately. Signed, Bob Mueller.
Wow.
A revelation.
They shouldn't have redacted that. That seems important.
You see? You see what I'm saying, man?
Yeah, that sounds totally reasonable. Totally reasonable.